and welcome to this Italian special session where we're going to talk about web quizzes and the alternatives that no one else is talking about. My name is Marcus. I'm a meta ads advisor, full funnel growth consultant, and this session is hosted by FunnelFox, a no-code quiz building platform that growth marketers like I can leverage to kind of spin up quiz funnels quickly and iterate on them. And I invited two amazing guests today to talk about quiz funnels and all those alternatives that we mentioned. So maybe we start with a quick introduction from Gessica. And Gessica, it will be hard to name someone that is supposed to start. So you just go and
I love
pick.
this. It's amazing. Who wants to start?
I can
I
go.
go?
Okay.
All right, go.
So,
Perfect.
hi everyone. I'm Jessica with the J. I work at Baird as head of performance marketing. Before that, I used to work for Bending Spoons, really going across different vertical. But right now, I'm specializing into the relationship care vertical. And yeah, here I am.
Thanks for being here. Over to Jessica.
Nice. And I am the other Jessica with a G, but you can call me G. So we just clear the air. G. That's easy to remember. Also work in performance marketing, of course. Like I've been working with subscription app for the past 10 years. Before I worked with agency and I actually studied computer science, so something completely different. I was at Blinkist with Marcus for many, many years. Then I was at Paired with Jess with another 3 years. So we all of us work together. And since 1 year, I decided to go freelancing. So I'm a fractional CMO and I work with many different subscription apps on really, really different topic. I would say web is definitely like a really, really important topic for me, but also creative, product-led growth, UA, coaching and leadership and so on. And I'm really excited to be here with both of you.
Nice. Let's jump right in. Just a bit of housekeeping before. We're going to try to aim for like 45 minutes of just us talking, me asking questions, and then leave like 10 to 15 minutes at the end where we can answer questions from the chat on the side. So feel free to drop yours there, and I will try to kind of prioritize them in the end based on what I like to answer, I guess. Other than that, the webinar will be recorded, go on YouTube after, so you can also kind of rewatch, send it around. Nothing will be lost. And with that, let's kick it off. And I thought we maybe start with G in that case, because I know you recently just did a workshop on web to app at a conference that I also attended, and I figured maybe it's a good starting point to hear about what you talked about there and how that went.
Absolutely. So I presented, as you know, everything regarding web to app, actually starting from the web to app terms, because I think everyone has a different approach. I call web to app everything that is like leading to a landing page, but ultimately the conversion is on app. And I call web to web what is like currently web funnel. So the things that we're going to be talking today. But I think actually everyone else just say web to app. So that's okay. I will accept this fate. But yeah, I talked about both, let's say, options. I talked about why people should even try to look into web as an acquisition channel for app marketing. And I talk about my experience because I think it started at Blinkist a little bit random just because we were trying a new platform, paid content with Albin and Taboola. And so that's the first time that I started to lead traffic to web to acquire traffic for our mobile app campaigns. But since then, it kind of like follow me these things. So I keep doing that and it's working. So that's pretty good. So I talk about like how to start with mini landing pages, but also like how to get to web funnels, why you should be working with web funnels, for example, where to start, what is the pro and cons of each of them, the tracking. And yeah, the session was really amazing. It was a workshop. So there was a lot of like interactive session. I would say that the main takeaway is like nothing, like I think right now everyone is talking about web to app or web to web or however you want to call it. And it looks like a low hanging fruits. But first of all, web is not going to fix your shitty product. Can I say it? Yeah, I think so. Probably maybe I should not have said that. Marcus is like, no. And the second thing is it requires resources. So there are tools out there, for example, funnel flows, that can help us when it comes to like easily put together a funnel, but it definitely requires like tracking, a lot of back and forth, maybe a designer, developers, continuous iteration, and a lot of budget for testing. And you should not be expecting you just put something live and it's going to work. I think we're going to go deeper into that. But yeah, again, it's not like an easy fix like everyone think about it.
Yeah, I agree. I hear that often. It's like, hey, we're quickly going to test this, and then it turns into like at least a quarter of a project. You touched on a lot of great points there, at a very high level. So maybe let's dive into like these ones. Maybe starting with kind of when to use web, when not to use web. Like what's the benefits there? Which kind of products should be thinking about using a web funnel?
Yeah, I can go, but then I want to hear also like Jess' perspective on this. But I would say again, now it's a little bit of a trend. Everyone is like, let's go to web funnels. But what I have seen happening is like I think the web funnels work when in a couple of cases. First of all, if you have a product that is a little bit hard to explain. So, or like maybe a new category, something that people don't really completely know, and they need a little bit of a push. So, for example, I think that the couple space could be one of them. Like a lot of people don't know the vertical, they don't know what it can be useful for. And I think having a long onboarding can kind of guide the user emotionally and make them understand what you do. So that's the first thing. So again, a product that is a little bit challenging to explain, maybe. The second thing, I think it's perfect if you can give something in the web onboarding. So if you look at, sorry, if you look at the most of the web onboarding, it's really interesting because they don't start from like, let's say the use case of the platform that is like, I don't know, making your life better for X and Y. They say like, hey, do the quiz and we're going to tell you your ideal bedtime. Do the quiz and we give you your learning map, whatever. So they kind of promise you something. So I think if you have a product that can easily be represented by kind of a subset of a quiz or something, it makes a lot of sense. And the other thing, I think if you have something that is like, if you want to emotionally connect with the user, that's also where the web funnel works. So I think probably the first great example of like web funnels works for Noom, that is like something for losing weight. And I think at the time, I remember me doing this like super long flow and really having a lot of points where I was like, oh yeah, I've been struggling with this. And thinking like, oh my God, they know me so well. In reality, now I know that there were a lot of questions and they were tailored to me. And now maybe I know the psychology behind it. But I think if you have a product that can emotionally connect with your users, it definitely makes sense to use a web funnel. I don't know, Jess, if you have a different experience or.
No, totally. I agree with you. I think it's important when it comes to app within, like for example, health and fitness, dating, relationship care, educational, anything that where user need, where the value is not obvious, and you need to give a bit more context, educate them, build a case, and then also whenever it requires a commitment. Like a fitness plan, for example, or anything related to as well a relationship plan or educational plan, whatever. So anything like that work really, web onboarding works really well. For example, for casual games, utility app, anything that where the user expect immediate usage or entertainment, web is just an extra layer, an extra friction. So it might harm rather than help you. So yeah, that's indeed where I do think it could.
Makes a lot of sense. I also feel like, when the product is like complex to use then, or like there's a lot of choice involved, like just creating this kind of streamlined experience where like you can sell the value before you have to drop people into like a more complex experience and they need to be very motivated. I recently had this interesting like audit that I did for a company that had like a very, very long form landing page before they sent people into the quiz from there. And like, it was basically like, well, why is there all this selling happening on a page? Why isn't that part of the quiz? And we went into like this fun exercise of them thinking about like, how does each of the things you're trying to communicate on your landing page actually fit into the quiz as kind of a question or like an educational piece? so that you don't need a landing page upfront that tells the user anything. And I think, yeah, kind of that's how I think about these funnels, like the questions and what you kind of put in as kind of additional screens should do all the selling. And in the end, you don't need to tell the user anything beforehand. They will come to the conclusion that they need you through the questions you ask, right?
Agree. Also, like, I just wanted to mention that in the past, like, all these web funnels were used by mobile apps that before were running like a promotion campaign. But I don't know if you have the same now, especially you, Marcus, but I think I see more and more clients that reach out and they never had like an app campaigns before. And they're just like, oh, we've been running like fully web funnels like since the beginning. So it's really crazy that it's completely switching and to the opposite direction. Now it's maybe more common to have a web funnel than it needs to have app campaigns.
Yeah,
not
I've seen a
sure.
few of these cases where like they used it from 0 to 1. Like coming back to your content of to your comment on like it cannot fix your shitty product. I think it can to some extent because in the end you're selling before people ever see the product. So if you have a very good funnel and your product isn't there yet, you can still run profitable campaigns. I'm not saying you should, and you're going to see kind of the metrics drop off after, but I think it's interesting to think of it as this kind of what can it do for us in 0 to 1. Like how in the end does it make marketing quicker, because that means we don't have to iterate on the product all the time to figure things out. Marketing can do that on their end while product works on product. And I've seen a few companies doing that and having good success with that. So yeah, definitely feels like a trend as well.
I think it's also a consequence of all the limitation we've been facing on the upside with ITT policy and scam framework. So people goes to web in order to have back their user level visibility and attribution. So that might have been also the other reason.
Big benefit. And then, so, I mean, we're mainly talking about quizzes now, but you already started with kind of, there is like web to app, there's web to web, there's different kind of pieces within that. Like what are generally like top level different web flows you're seeing in the industry that people leverage, and kind of what channels do they use them on?
I can go, since we've been, especially at Paired, we've been leveraging more of this web to app strategy than web onboarding. Web onboarding is still in work in progress with the support of Funnelfox. But yeah, when it comes to web to app, we are leveraging web as a touch point before redirecting user to the App Store. So right now we are running most of our acquisition on this web to app campaign across all our channel, Meta, TikTok. We are trying also on Google Ads. And the idea is to bring the user. There are two approaches. One is bring the user through a web mini landing page, where, I mean, you can have a really sneak peek of the app. It's a super simple landing page with a button, download now, and you click there and you get redirected to the App Store or Play Store. We use it also for Android. And the other approach is through auto redirect. So you leverage the MMP auto redirect, and the user goes straight from the ad to the App Store or Play Store in this case as well. There is no landing page in the middle, and both are working quite well for us. They've been taking over most of our delivery right now, and the benefit are obvious. I mean, user level attribution and visibility, although there are still some lack, especially on Facebook. Facebook doesn't give you impression trackability. You only have click attribution. So you miss out on the impression traffic, which can be even quite high depending on where you run. It can be Reels, can reach also 30% traffic you are losing to the organic. But yeah, in general, user level visibility, you are reaching a new audience. There is this incremental impact because with the web campaign, you reach different audience, which with a really little overlap with your app funnel campaign. And what we've been noticing with running web campaign, especially on Meta, we are reaching older audience, and there is a better distribution in terms of placement as well. We've been running on feed, which wasn't really happening when we were running only app campaign. So it's indeed a different audience and a bit better quality audience. We can see also higher LTV. So in general, it did bring quite a positive impact.
Maybe we can go a bit deeper into like the setup there. I feel like we're all aware of the strategy, but I feel like it's still quite novel. I see some big brands doing it, but then in all the kind of indie Slack chats I'm in, people aren't aware of like why people, for example, in Facebook ads library, why brands have like a singular link behind their ad instead of kind of the normal kind of a promotion campaign type. So maybe we can go a bit into detail. How do you set this up, and then like what to expect here, G?
Yeah, so again, there are two. If we do in terms of like web to app, there are two setup, as Jess already mentioned. So the MMP redirect or the proper mini landing pages. Maybe I can talk about the MMP redirect. You can do it with all of them. You can do it with AppsFlyer. You can do it with Singular. We can use with Adjust. What happened is like you have to do two things. So first of all, you are running a website sales campaign. You're not running an app promotion campaign. So this means that you're going to be optimizing for events. There needs to be website event. Now, how do you optimize for website event if you have an app event? So if you have an app, what happens on the MMP side is that we're going to be matching in-app events with web events by adding a new partner, Facebook Web or whatever it is called, TikTok Web, Google Web, whatever. And we just map that. So that's easy peasy. But then I think 1.5 years ago, most of the MMP, they released this feature that I call it MMP auto redirect, but I think in AppsFlyer it's called One Link. It has a different name. And it gives you a link that you're going to be using on the website fields, let's say, on your campaigns. And it's actually like kind of it looks like a deep link, let's say, that will lead people directly to the App Store. So the flow is that the people click on an ad and they immediately see the App Store or the Play Store versus the proper mini landing page, where you can still actually do the auto redirect thing, but at least for 2 to 3 seconds, people will see the landing page. And one thing maybe to mention, and then maybe I'll let Jess explain the mini landing pages or the web funnels setup, is that every MMP is a little bit different. So you just need to pay attention to that. So I would say, for example, in AppsFlyer, and I think it's still the same, is the only MMP where you cannot choose if you want to send back all the in-app events as web events or just the one attributed to your Facebook web campaigns. And this can be tricky because, I mean, to be honest, the matching between MMP events and meta events is different for vertical countries. It's like, for me, it's always like a mystery. But what can happen is like if you're not sending enough events, maybe Meta has no visibility, and then you end up like tracking not enough. Or sometimes I think me and Jess, we had actually had the opposite experience once where we had more events on Meta there on the MMP, and we're like, okay, maybe we need to send only things attributed to Facebook Web. But yeah, again, every single, let's say, MMP has its own special thing. For example, Singular has also like an issue that if you send an event connected to purchase, but that event doesn't have revenue, it's not going to be sent to Meta. So again, all of them, like if you tested all of them, you know that there's some issues here and there, but yeah, it changes. And maybe Jess, I don't know if you want to explain the mini landing page or the web funnel or both.
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Quickly just jumping in here, like I've seen that with AppsFlyer also, that it's a bit of a disadvantage because campaigns, like fresh campaigns, can take a while to pick up. Like I've had people reaching out saying, well, it's not working, we're not seeing any events, but sometimes you really need to give it like a week or so before it catches the first conversion and then starts learning what to do, because it really only receives the ones that AppsFlyer claims are the ones coming from Meta. And if nothing is coming in that way, then it can take a bit until this picks up. And also, since we now mentioned all the MMPs, to give a little shout out to Lucas at AppStack, who also just recently launched this feature, so that you don't necessarily need an MMP. And now over to Jessica for the mini landing page.
Love it. Yes, when it comes to the landing page, that's a bit different. So what's happening there? I can go a bit technical, but in case, feel free to reach out if you need more detail. But yeah, when it comes to the landing page, what happens is that you need to, once the user land on the Facebook web landing page, the URL typically includes custom parameters. So usually you need to report this UTM that report campaign name, ad group name, creative name. And what happens is that you need to, this parameter needs to be passed from the landing page into the adjust URL link dynamically. Adjust, then once it captures and receives this information, will attribute the install to Facebook web tracker based on probabilistic model. And then once adjust attributes all the information, the integration pass the information to Facebook and Meta through Meta conversion API. This usually how it works in a really simple way. What we did at Paired in order to improve the trackability at the landing page level, instead of just waiting for the user to click on the button. So, landing page, you have the button download now. Instead of waiting for the user to take an action, we change the click engagement logic with the adjust web to app, triggering the tracker just when the user land on the page. So the user doesn't need to take any action. So when the user land on the page, it does trigger attribution immediately. So we use an iframe to build this link based on the URL parameter and call the attribution to adjust.
Do you still see any benefits of using that flow over just directly sending people to the link into the App Store? Like what's like?
You mean instead of
does the page make a difference?
Yeah, instead of the redirect, you mean?
Yeah.
Honestly, not so much. Why? Why? Because when you use the mini landing page with this click engagement logic in Meta environment, the user get redirected immediately to the App Store. So you can see the landing page only for a couple of seconds, even less, and then you get redirected to the App Store. So it's a bug, but it's a positive bug that helps us run on the auto redirect without even using the auto redirect.
Okay.
So yeah. So I wouldn't say
pages,
that there is
it's
much
never been
difference.
about what people say on the pages. It's just been about better attribution in the end.
Not exactly, not for Meta or TikTok didn't make much difference.
I-
With paid content, or maybe Jessica, there is way more.
Well, that one is another word. I don't know if I want to open that can, but I would say for one thing to add about proper mini landing page versus auto redirect, I have absolutely no proof of what I'm about to say. But I tested with some clients. Like initially there was no MMP auto redirect. So when I started to use, it was just mini landing pages. And then suddenly I started to use more auto redirect because I'm like, it's easy. I don't need a developer. Perfect. I never really properly A/B test mini landing page versus auto redirect. But when I tested like in separate campaigns, the feeling that I had is that I felt that I was tracking a little bit less on Meta when I was using the auto redirect. And I have this is absolutely random, but my idea is like when you use that link, sometimes you get some parameters getting lost. And that's why Meta maybe cannot really track properly. But we're talking about like a small amount. And again, I've never done like a proper testing. So that's something that I recorded because most of my clients, they either do one or another. The best way this is something actually that I recommended to somebody recently, because again, they switch everything to like the MMP redirect. But also their performance kind of like started to perform like in general worse. And I was like, okay, is it performing worse because something is happening now, or is it performing worse because there's some data loss? So it looked worse, but in reality, your blended stayed the same. So the best thing is to do a holdout test or only switch to having only auto redirect campaigns, and then you see. And then the other thing that I wanted to shout out 1 second is like when we did at Paired is like this thing that we implemented this genius auto redirect feature with the mini landing page. it was by mistake. Like it was because what happened is that, and I still remember Jess running the campaigns and saying like, oh, I think that there's a lot of people that they end up converting, but later, and they're not attributed to this campaign because you're only attributing when you click on the download button. Okay. And so we decided like, okay, let's trigger the attribution right away so that we track more people. Perfect. But the fact that when you use that trick of like triggering the auto redirect, Facebook display the App Store, we didn't realize it. Actually, it was Funnel Fox that realized it because we launched a web funnel and it was terrible. And they're like, oh, did you notice that when the meta environment, so even if you send it as a chat on Instagram, it just opens the auto redirect, and we're like, oh, that's what happened. But the best things in life happens as a mistake, so.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it was fun because we were like thinking, okay, everyone going through the web funnel, they are just dropping and download the app stream.
We're like, wow, that's amazing.
Oh, that's funny. So we could get quite nerdy here on that. It's like one funnel type, but let's also talk about a few more and like channels you're seeing them used on. Like you already touched on kind of what Blinkist was doing back then. That was kind of my aha moment to all of this. I came from gaming. We barely did web at all. We had some kind of landing pages for Taboola and Outbrain because they made us back then, but it was usually just like a short page and then got people into the game so they can actually get that experience. As Jessica already said, like for a game, people usually want to get to something that is actually a game and not read about it. But then at Blinkist, like, I don't know, like 80% of our marketing spend was on like web pages in some form or another, some with like a web checkout, but a lot with just like content or like for influencers. So maybe let's talk a bit about all these types of pages and what you can use them for.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Oh,
then I can follow up.
No, since you mentioned influencer, it did trigger me. I was like, yes, we are using a lot web pages for influencers. So when it comes to improve trackability for people coming through influencer, either we use the "How did you hear about us?" survey, but another way we try to ensure to have visibility on user coming through influencer is through the web pages. So we have dedicated web pages for each single influencer. So we are able to track them based on the name of the page. So I don't know, we run with Pacman and we have the page pair.com/Pacman. So it's great either for trackability, but also because you can offer a dedicated discount and make it a bit more appealable for the user coming through the influencer. That's is
only
one,
for YouTube, right? Or any other influencers as well?
I'm using it for YouTube podcast, but also on Instagram with ManyChat. So right now, you know that there is this ManyChat feature where if you come, like the influencer tell you, okay, comment paired in the comment section, and I will send you a special offer. And through the ManyChat feature, you can send this dedicated landing page with the offer.
Hadn't heard about that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. It's something that it did help us with a few influencers on Instagram. So yeah, super recommended. And yeah, this is one with influencer, but also we are using this web flow also for anything related to re-engagement, when you want to send people that drop out the onboarding or they go through the cancellation flow, you send them an email with this maybe discount or offers, and you redirect them to the web. And also another one, when it comes to web onboarding, usually we split them into type of funnel: high intent flow, which is mainly for Google Ads campaign, for example, anything that is search super high, where you reach high intent traffic and user, and the flow is way simple. There are no many questions. You go straight to the point and offer special discount, whatever. And then we have the low intent flow for discovery channel, like for example, paid social, Meta, TikTok, where you build this long quiz with many questions. You create this emotional connection. You need to educate the user. And yeah, it's something that has been really successful on Meta and paid social. These are the one we've been leveraging in paired.
That's cool. So it's mainly kind of the length of the flow, because like low intent in the end needs more nurturing, and on
Exactly.
the high intent ones, then you kind of have your main USPs and then direct to payment.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. Gee, how
Super
about you?
cool. Yeah, I think from my side, well, first experience with like web funnels was, as you mentioned, at Blinkist, where we were using actually not a landing page, but an article. And so that for me was also, I mean,
Are
yes,
you
I was
still
there,
seeing that
but
used by someone these days? I don't know.
sorry?
I always try to pitch it, but somehow I also don't have examples of anyone doing it anymore.
No, to be honest, every company that I work with after Blinkist was like, I was like, I know how to do it. Let me do it. We also tried at Blinkist. I pitched it to Jess many, many times, and she regretted giving me that budget.
I learned something new. Never regret anything with you.
Because I always like, I think remember like first year at Paired, I was like, I'm gonna do it, let's do it. And then also before leaving, I was like, the last thing to do, I was like, let me do it. Maybe I will unlock another channel. It did not really work. And to be honest, I don't know many apps for which these flow has worked. So Dawn, and I'm even like, I mean, in the book summary space, we all know that there's a lot of like copy each other. And I think that was one channel that nobody could really like copy away from Blinkist. So I have some insights on why I think it worked there. But it's for an informal chat somewhere over a beer, not here. But I
Yeah,
think
maybe
in general,
one insight there from my end was what I found very interesting with running these on Meta was that placement distribution was so heavy on Facebook feed, because that's where people
right?
in the end read news, and we had like 90% of spend on a Facebook placement, and we made it look really like an article in the end that would come from a Forbes or like whatever.
Exactly.
And there you could really see how then in the end the creative, but also what comes afterwards in terms of content, really dictates targeting and goes into a placement where it's native. So that was
Absolutely.
just really interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100%. And I think again, it's something that not a lot of people do because it takes like so much effort and resources to get to the like landing page, the right article, the right content, and then maybe you can work, but it's just not like worth it many times.
Yeah, but now with AI, I mean, we had writers back then, but now, like, if you kind of
Don't say that,
like
Marcus.
train a cloud project properly on like high converting articles, and then you could spit them out pretty quickly. I don't know. I'm still pitching it. I want to retry for someone.
To all the copywriter in this call, we're really sorry. We didn't mean to. But yeah, sorry. There was a question about like, oh, Sandra. Yes, of course. Sandra is like the queen of fake content. People should reach out if they want to know. I'm wondering if she made it work again. Maybe we should invite her to the next one, and you can ask her.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, then the other channels. Well, we definitely had a lot of like podcasts, YouTube influencers in general, with web pages. And then one thing that I tested recently, it's TikTok web, but not with web funnels, mainly with web to app campaigns. I actually have one client currently testing it with web funnels, but we're still not there yet. So I cannot really share any results. But regarding web to app, on TikTok web, they look, the thing is that they seem to be working well for like the purpose of like tracking, having reliable ad level data, so creative testing and these kind of things. What I haven't really figured it out, and with the MMP the MMP redirect, you have the same behavior that I have on Meta. The one thing that I haven't been able to figure out is like on Meta, I think web is working because it's bringing, like, as Jess and you also mentioned, better quality of traffic, usually older audience, they have more money, they're willing to spend. I don't even know if this audience exists on TikTok. And so I don't know exactly if it has all the leverages that you have on Meta. I remember I worked with one client that was spending a lot on TikTok, And the thing is that they were spending money with scan campaigns. So when I started web to app, the only thing that I noticed is like actually in theory on TikTok, you also have impression tracking that you don't have on web. So it should be working better. You should be tracking more, but on the interface, at least, and on the MMP, the cost per trial was much higher. But now I never know, is it higher because it's really like higher, or is it higher because you're tracking less than your scan campaigns for some reason? And maybe that's why. So I haven't really been proving, but yeah, I will be definitely be testing more, both in web funnels and web to app, to see if I can unlock anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're touching on attribution there, and I think it's a kind of good point to make that also, like with web, you're getting some benefits and can have better tracking, but then also, like, it's not going to be perfect, and you're not going to have kind of the actual incremental value you're driving reported on the ad platform. So again, you need kind of incrementality testing. You need to kind of cross-check what's going on blended to figure out how much like traffic you're driving. It's just, yeah, never perfect. You can't escape an attribution mess with kind of any of these tactics or flows. I would say like one on like kind of meta skewing order on web campaigns. I would say that's quite unique to them because like they've been around for much longer than TikTok. They had their pixel on like every website for the past, I don't know, like 15 years now, or since when they were around. They had their SDK in every app. So I think they have pretty distinct data sets, and therefore kind of the campaign types in the end go after completely different audiences. I'm not sure if TikTok like does that on that level. I think most like they didn't even have an SDK for the longest time. So
True.
I think their algorithm is just not advanced on kind of that down funnel tracking piece, while they're much better on like tracking kind of engagement and predicting who's going to watch what type of video. So it's a lot more kind of upper funnel basis.
I agree. Can I have a follow-up question?
You can.
Of course, yes. So because we talk about the tracking for web, but sorry, for web to app, but I wanted to ask you, mainly because I have actually a question mark that is currently happening with somebody. When it comes to web funnels, I mean, when you run them on web, I guess that the easier way, you implement the pixel, and then you can implement the pixel on all your pages. You can send back events, for example, for people reaching the paywall, or purchasing directly on web. Have you ever tried to use that tracking instead of using the pixel, to use the web SDK from your MMP as like a tracking point?
I haven't, but I mean, I would say like usually you definitely want to have conversion API on top of the pixel. Like don't just do kind of conversion tracking for the purchase based on a pixel firing after someone exited the paywall. Definitely make sure you send that through copy as well as the other main events you care about. But then I never tried using the web SDK from any of the MMPs. Just have you?
Okay.
Me neither. Only dual setup, copy and pixel.
Okay.
No,
I was hoping to figure it out, the issue of one of my clients that they didn't implement the pixel,
Okay.
they used the web SDK, but then compared to Stripe, we see like 4 times more conversion on Meta. That is definitely wrong. And actually, maybe another follow-up question for you, Jess, because I remember we talked about it, but I forgot. When running web funnels campaign, do you see a spillover effect on user starting the web funnel, but then actually going through the app flow later on? And are you able to capture these users? So you start the web onboarding, but instead of purchasing on web, you end up going through the app. So for both of you, actually.
Not sure we are tracking that. We see the dropout, especially at the beginning of the funnel, but don't think we are tracking where they go next or if there is any other activity.
Yeah, I'm also not properly tracking it. Like if it's a lot, I would put it on kind of as a multiplier, but then I do see that spillover effect that if I run like web in isolation, there's not other stuff happening for smaller clients, then it's definitely visible how also App Store traffic increases more than just the people who bought a subscription on the web. So that does definitely happen. I also got the advice before, I don't know if it was from like Funnel Fox or some other people running web to web campaigns, that you want to make sure not to kind of make it too obvious that you're an app. Kind of don't mention it like throughout the flow very often. Don't kind of put app store badges and like your kind of screenshots from the store, because in the end that just kind of drives people to the store where they think, well, why am I answering question 40 on this Webflow if I'm just going to download an app afterwards anyways?
Okay.
I don't know. I was never able to prove it that kind of that drives it, but it made sense to me.
Yeah, true. Okay, thank you.
But yeah, I agree with Marcus about the geo test that you can easily run. To see because we've been right now, honestly, we are running a geo test to measure, to confirm the organic uplift or multiplier driven by web to app strategy. So we are running a few tests here and there, multiple tests, because it's
always just multipliers everywhere. I'm gonna put 30%
God,
on top here, 50% on top here. Attribution in 2025.
That's true.
It's a nightmare. My gosh.
So maybe let's take the last 3 minutes to circle back to web quizzes. I wanted to kind of talk a bit about what you're optimizing for in these funnels, like a conversion event, what kind of the SKU setup looks like, maybe a bit, and then also how you do creative testing against that, because that's one of my main pain points, that conversions are expensive and then creative testing is hard to do.
Yeah. Who wants to start?
I can go if you want. Well, starting with the event optimization, we go after the purchase. So that's the goal, try to reach the high quality user, and the best way to do it is to go for the purchase. When it comes to web onboarding, we tested the trial offer. It didn't work at all. It was a failure. Especially we've seen a quite high rate of not enough fund at the end when people needed to move from the trial to the purchase. So it was indeed not the best setup. So we moved from trial to direct purchase with different offer. It can be like the monthly, 3-month, and the yearly subscription. But in general, purchase is the one that has been showing the best LTV and retention as well. So yeah, when it comes to optimization, only purchase seems to be the one bringing the best results in terms of profits and scalability.
Did you try paid trials at all, or is it kind of a full-priced direct purchase?
Full price, but I know it's in the test. Yeah, we have this list of tests to run with Funnel Fox, and it's in the plan. But indeed, right now it's mainly only purchase. Testing different offer, different discount, different length of the subscription. But
are you doing introductory offers, or is it like, does it stay the same price, or does it 5x after the first month?
No.
Never.
No, we would never do it. But we have the win-back strategy. So if the user close the paywall or go back, we pop up an extra discount, which seems to be a winning strategy right now. We ask a question, like we ask a question at the end. So if the user, let's say, that close or go back from the paywall, we pop up a question saying why are you want to leave the fund? Why you don't want to give us the money? So it can be either, so maybe you don't trust us, you want to test the product first, so you don't have enough money, and so on. And based on the answer, we give either the trial, or we give a discount, or we give other offer. And it seems that discount is the one winning the most. But yeah, in general, this is a bit how it works, and purchase is the one that we go after. And when it comes to the creative strategy, that's a big pain point for us as well, because we are struggling to, we have all the learning from the web to app funnel because it's where we are investing most of our money. So web to app meaning the auto redirect to the app store. And there is where we run most of our creative tests. But we see really little transferability in terms of winning creative from app funnel to web funnel. Even though if we are adjusting a bit, the copy, the call to action, try to say instead of download the app is take a 1 minute quiz or something like that. It's not really working, so we are considering to invest the money on running a proper creative test specifically for web onboarding, same for creative production and everything. But it does require time, resources, because it means that you need to have someone focus on that, and plus money, because it's about investing on dedicated creative test on web. But it looks like being the really right approach. Even talking with other businesses, what they are doing as well.
I would agree. Like ads tend to be quite different. Statics play a much bigger role in this, while app promotions aren't as receptive to them. I was wondering if you kind of maybe use kind of a more upstream event for creative optimization, just to make sure there's more events coming in, or like look at different data points that just happen more often, so you're not paying like, I don't know, like something like $40 per conversion or more is pretty common, and then like it's just very hard to validate any of the creatives.
Maybe I can jump in on this one. So I want to use the same event because I think that when you are using a different events for optimizing creative testing, then you find a lot of false positive that cannot be translating in your BAU campaign. So I always optimize for the same event, but and again, it's true. Like you're paying a lot of money, so you end up like if you want like I don't know, a lot of it, like at least 10 events per day. We're talking about like 500 euros or even more like per day for creative testing. So normally on my app campaigns or like web to app campaigns, I do like a super beautiful and clean testing. One campaign, multiple ad set. One ad set is one concept, 5 iteration, perfect. With web, it's more like let's put everything in and see what stick. So what I would do is like, let's say that I'm testing like 5 different concepts and they each have 5 variation, but they somehow are speaking to a similar audience. What I would do is like, again, my budget on a daily basis per ad set would be higher, but I also put like the 2 best of these concept, what I think is the best, so it's really like subjective, together, and I make them compete. So this means that you have much less, like you have less clean learnings because you don't know by each concept which one actually got the spend generated, whatever, but you learn fast the one that is winning and the one that can actually scale. So that's what I do. And the other thing is like there's an additional layer of complexity that is like if you are established with your web funnels, that's great. But we talked before that a lot of apps, what they do is like they promise you something in your web onboarding, in your web funnel. So they promise you to know your bedtime, to have your plan so that you can become a millionaire or you can become super intelligent. What do you promise and what do you put on your first page? Because again, I was discussing recently with somebody, we were talking about like the drop off from first page to second page, how many people reach the paywall, how many people purchase. The thing is that the creative has a super high impact on all this metric. And then you're thinking like, oh, I need to work on my first to second page ratio, but actually is the creative the problem. That creative is not driving the right traffic, or vice versa. You have an amazing creative, but you need to change the copy on your first screen to make it more relevant. So again, there's like another layer of complexity there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, ultimately, in the perfect world, you would have kind of each first page specific to kind of a creative concept so that kind of people feel like they clicked into the right thing, which would be quite complex though. Okay, let's maybe take some questions since there were a few in the chat, starting with Christopher, who asked, do you see web funnels as an effective marketing strategy even without web payments and or account creation happening on web? Maybe I quickly take this one. This is basically the strategy we talked about with like the mini landing pages or the auto redirect from the MMP. So in the end, you don't even have a landing page at all, meaning there's also no payment, there's no account creation. The sole benefit of this is it allows you to run a web campaign, which can make all the difference already on a channel like Meta. And it gives you some benefits in terms of attribution. For example, you can then pass back user level information to something like a mix panel and look at your kind of down funnel behavior of different creative angles, which is of course very insightful for your creative strategy as you're kind of evolving there. So totally worth it, even if you're not asking for payment or account creation. Damir is asking, what ROAS would you expect to aim for in the first month to know if the web to app has potential?
3. It's just a random number.
42.
I can go based on my experience. I would go with the day zero ROAS. Since you go for purchase right away, you can have visibility at day zero. And in our case, I mean, it depends. You need to check a cancellation rate, a refund rate. You need to have a bit of visibility on and the renew rate as well in order to project your ROAS. But based on my experience, day zero ROAS at 50% could already allow you to be break-even in 3 months. That's what is in my experience. Again, it does change based on the subscription you provide, the different subscription, the length of the subscription, the one like a monthly, 3 month, and yearly. You need to run your own analysis, but in general, this is what it's happening in my case.
Yeah,
Jessica,
it really depends on kind of your target plans. Like if you're pushing everyone into a yearly because
exactly
you want kind of the best for your product, then of course that means there's not going to be a renewal for a year. So you probably want to make at least a break even on that day zero purchase, because otherwise it's going to be a very, very long payback period. And you have to always consider here that this funnel has very little effect on like organic or any word of mouth, because in the end, everyone gets lost throughout the funnel. If they don't pay, they're gone. They haven't installed an app on their home screen. They're not using it in like free mode. So kind of, if you're not making like a profit from this, then it's definitely a waste. You cannot kind of add a multiplier and like figure it out somewhere else. So be aware of that. I would say you need to aim for like quick profitability here to be able to invest. And in the end, the whole promise of these flows is that they can drive higher returns than a promotion. So like don't aim for like negative 90% and hope something happens afterwards.
I would say, yeah, it really depends on the length of your subscription, as you say. So I see a lot of apps, for example, pushing for a weekly subscription. Personally, I never really tested, but I think in that case, you just need to consider like, okay, how often are they gonna, like, how much are they gonna renew? Because I know that for a quarterly subscription, you usually have between 60 and 70% of renewal. Again, on the clients that I work with. And so for me, that's easier to look at day 91 and know exactly what the return is going to be. If you have a weekly one, again, you probably lose a lot of people after the third week. And so you need to be able to get, maybe much more in advance. And I think also testing different length is also crucial in this game, and can make you win really easily. And also like maybe I actually talk about this in the presentation, but offer different prices on web, compare the prices that you offer on app as well. So I think I check like there's different apps, their prices are all over the place, and they really play with it on the way that they display it, but also what they offer, how much, the length again of the subscription. So there's a lot to play with, and with that one in mind, you need to calculate ROAS, but always think about your length and then calculate accordingly. And maybe you are unprofitable for the first 3 months, and then you swim in money by day 91.
Swim in money. I think that covers Tanya's questions mostly, who asked about kind of observations on length of subscriptions for web funnels. I would say they are kind of, the general trend is towards shorter SKUs, and then since they retain quite long on the web, making that money in the long run, with an unknown share of people just forgetting about it. It's a bit of a shady thing to do, especially if you add kind of introductory offers on top, and then kind of it's cheap for the first month, and then you directly get sent into like a much heavier SKU in terms of pricing. There are some dark patterns happening there for sure, but generally I would say it's higher priced and shorter SKUs on web compared to the app promotion plans. Let's take another one from Christopher here. If you're doing web campaigns but still optimized towards an app event with probabilistic matching, what are the pros? Easier to build quizzes onboarding, assuming here the optimization event purchase trial still happens in the app with this setup. So kind of a follow-up question on the mini landing page tactic.
Okay, but wait, I got lost. But still optimized towards an app event with probabilistic matching. What are the pros? I mean, if you do a web campaigns, it means like it's a website sales, it's a sales campaign, what you're doing on Meta. And that means that you're using actually click attribution in that case. And so in that case, like you simply are sending back in-app events as web events. So it's the only difference because you don't have a pixel that you can attach to your app. And so in this case, it's still like the attribution is much better than the probabilistic attribution that we will have with aggregate events measurement, for example.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and then
So
really
it's
kind
still
of that
happening.
accessing a different audience that we talked about, right? Like it can be
Exactly.
a much better fit, and it is for many apps just because app promotion campaigns are pre-trained on just very young traffic. It seems like they always go after like 25, 34 as kind of one of the main age groups, while for web campaigns it helps you break into 35, 45, 55 plus, and those are the people that usually have more buying power and are able to purchase a subscription for 60, 70 bucks a year.
True.
Then what else do we have here? Christopher again. Let's take some other people before we tackle his.
Zach, have you ever tried
Eso.
super long copy? Wait, super long copy? Oh, I cannot see the word. Copy
Super long
sales
copy
landing
sales landing
page.
page that then leads into web funnel questionnaire, or reverse, where long copy is at the end on the paywall.
Well, I mean, super long copy, that would be for me the Blinkist landing pages. They were articles though. They were not really long copy. And I think we did try at that time, both on Meta and also on paid content, to have like these landing pages with more explanation that like and then a landing that a normal like short landing page, but it never really worked. Like the article in theory was always better. And I also, when it comes to the web funnel, I think especially at Paired initially, we did a lot of testing on the first page. So we try, for example, to have like a more explanatory copy about the app, the mission, emotional, similar to Flow. I think Flow was doing that for at some point, and it never really worked compared to like starting directly with a question and just a couple of lines above that say like what you're getting out of this funnel. So for me, it's never really perform. The copy that is long usually goes into the paywall.
Creative.
So you have the paywall or the creative. Yeah, the creative for sure. A super long copy, we know it. But also like maybe at the end when you reach the paywall, you have like the free plans, and then there's a long landing page. Now, how many people will really leave the landing page? I am not sure. I haven't actually checked recently, but that's where I put my long copy.
Yeah, there's definitely kind of a formula to the landing page that has kind of emerged. So if you check all the kind of web to app repositories floating around on LinkedIn with like example pages, like the landing pages tend to look quite similar in terms of what you put there, like an order of like user reviews, your USPs, I don't know, like success stories, any credibility logos that you have. So kind of check competitors there. I would say that's usually a good starting point for the paywall. Other than that, I also feel like leading with a lot of copy probably just creates higher drop off. I'd rather like if you have something to say that's important, put it as part of the quiz so that people can consume it one piece at a time rather than kind of sending like a big chunk of text towards them, because in the end that's just gonna feel like a lot of work to read on their phone while they're, I don't know, somewhere on the train, just clicked on an ad.
Yeah.
A few more coming in from Fars. What if you create a campaign inside App Store Connect and have the redirect go to that link, then look at the sales for this campaign inside App Store Connect? Is this a good way to measure web to app conversions?
I think it means like creating like a
Custom.
product page, a custom product page on App Store, and then using it into your campaigns. I mean, yes, but again, it's just giving you more data, but I'm not sure about the granularity of the data, if it's at that level.
Yeah. I mean, if it's about custom product pages, I don't think like a web campaign, at least on Meta, would
Yeah.
accept a custom product page as a proper destination.
No, you're right,
You
actually.
can, of course, use it for the ad promotion campaign. But then in the end, that's not web to app, that's just app promotion. And that makes sense if you have like totally different angles for your app, like different creative types, then like matching them with the correct set of custom product pages. It's just not web to app in the end. I saw another one here about do you segment by age groups, which I thought was interesting. Like, how do you think about segmentation for these flows?
Can I go? Personally, it's based more on angle rather than age or gender or any demographic element. I try to, especially for product like relationship care app like Paired, where you can leverage the app for so many different reasons. We build a funnel based on this angle rather than gender. So we have like a flow for every of them, and then dedicated creative for each of them. This is what we see working the best without limiting the algorithm at the campaign level. We keep it really, really broad and let the creative and the funnel do the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
same for me. And then I use the platform. So I have a client that is running both Meta and TikTok. On Meta, with the same creators, I target 45 years old. On TikTok, I target 30 years old. So I got my targeting through the platforms, but targeting broad.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't recommend like targeting in terms of like putting like an age bracket on Meta. That's just going to make you pay a whole lot more. But of course, the quiz funnel also gives you a lot of data. Like if you see that, hey, our strongest conversion rates is from like 45 to 54 that all answered, this is my pain point, then use that data to like make creatives just about that, where you talk about the pain point, and also bring that messaging like earlier in the funnel. Like if you then have a creative which talks about, well, you're a 45-year-old male and you have back pain, then make sure that kind of your early pages in the quiz are also about that, just to make sure in the end they feel like they landed in the right environment. And you can in the end make it dynamic in the quiz as well. Like you could think about building out different quizzes or just kind of use dynamic parameters with a tool like Funnelbox, where you can then say, well, if someone answered this or came from this ad, then I want to display like a different message to them to make sure that you're kind of tackling these most interesting segments. So yeah, make sure to look at that data, because that can give you a lot of inspiration of where you want to go next with your creatives. Okay, we're running a bit over. Maybe let's do one or two more and then we can wrap it up. Hugo left a few questions, so maybe let's take one of his. If you have a web funnel before download the app, how does it impact your in-app onboarding? How do you avoid that users have to redo the onboarding twice? That's a fun one.
Well, I think, first of all, when you start, you can also because this is a question that, all my clients ask me, is like, okay, I start with a web onboarding, but then I have my app onboarding, and I tell them like, look, let's think about the web onboarding first and see if we can get even people out of the door, towards the end of the onboarding. And then we care about everything else. But then ideally, what you can do later is like you simply use like a deep link, so the people that actually come from that onboarding, they will see something different. So you have already collected all their information on a user level somewhere else, so you don't ask them to redo, or maybe you just ask them the different things. I think for me it's also really interesting what Arana is doing, because it's different. We're not talking about like web funnels, but they do a lot of like influencer recommendation. So when you enter the app, you immediately have to say like, okay, where did you come from, and if you came from like a partner, they tell you which partner, and the flow is completely different. So if you come from like an app campaigns, for example, then you have certain questions, but if you come from like one of the influencer, I think, then the flow is a little bit different. So you can definitely like work with that, but it's a problem for later on, in my opinion. First, check if you can really get people to the door of your web onboarding, door in and door out, and which percentage, and then you think about working with your product to improve your in-app onboarding as well.
the
Yeah,
marketing
and
approach.
yeah, exactly.
That shit done.
Otherwise, on the web onboarding, what we are doing, and most of the business are doing in general, is either, yeah, as you mentioned, Jessica, have this deferred deep linking at the end, have this thank you page when the user purchase. So if the user click on the button, they get redirect and log in automatically in the app. Otherwise, it does happen that people just do not really go to the thank you page. They just close the browser and that's it. So it's important to send email with assess right after the purchase. That's another way to bring the user back to the app.
Yeah. And there's definitely kind of a bigger issue here compared to just having to go through the onboarding twice. It's how do you get people in the app in the first place? Like, I mean, with anyone running these, I usually saw that like you're never gonna get everyone that's subscribed and paid to actually use the app, which is weird in the first place. And like I had clients when we started this, it was like just 40% of the people that ever made it, and it was clear, well, this is going to be a lot of support cases. So yeah, through all these tactics, usually it's like email, making sure that you send kind of email instructions to the email they provided in the flow of how to get into the app, and having kind of a magic link in there that then signs them up directly and skips the onboarding. You have a deferred deep link at the end of the flow itself that directly links them there, and then also instructions on that page on like what to do if they don't load the app on their own. And then you can even in the app onboarding, of course, have a screen where you ask people, well, did you come from web? Then log in here. I've seen some apps doing that. So there is no like final solution here. You're never going to have like everyone in the app and having them like skip the onboarding properly. That piece of tech is somehow still missing. But kind of if you stitch all of them together, you can get to good rates of like at least 80-90% of people actually having a okay experience, while you then can leverage all the benefits of these types of flows. Cool. We're 5 minutes over, so I guess let's wrap it up here. Thanks so much for doing this with me. This was fun.
Thank you for having us.
Anything else you wanted to maybe plug while we'll still have like 25 people around? Is paired hiring? What are you working on? Anything you wanted to share?
Not new hiring right now. I guess I went through too much hiring for 2025. I'm done.
Makes sense. You
You,
deserve some
Jessica?
New hiring? No.
No, in general.
Are you taking clients?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I will be. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Depends. It depends if I like your product.
Usually.
Make your offer, and then I'll
Make
see.
your offer. No, I would say, yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now I'm working with like a lot of different clients in different vertical. But yeah, open to collaboration. I will be out in March because I follow Marcus, example that you can be out for 2 months and nothing happens. So let's see if it's true. But yeah, if you want me, be fast. I have an expiration date.
Creating some scarcity. I like it. And
comment Jessica if you want me. No, never mind.
and Black is asking for a Funnel Fox discount to the Funnel Fox team. Maybe there's something you can make happen here for the attendees. I'm not in charge of that. I'm not able to give out discounts. I'd love to. Cool. Thanks everyone for being here. And yeah, this was really fun. Hope we can do it again at some point.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you indeed. It was nice. Next time with spritz.